Hi, I'm Lothar Faison of the Wilding the Wolfpack. Today, I'm making a video on a very important topic in Heathery, and that is your oaths that you make and how to keep them, and what oaths you really shouldn't be making. I got myself a nice cup of coffee sitting right here in my oceanfront property, if you see that. So, that being said, go ahead and sit down and get yourself a nice little brew, and we'll enjoy this one. So, with that being said, what is an oath and why, or why would you make one? So an oath in the pagan and heathen sense is an oath that you would normally make is a binding contract, if you will, by verbal means that you would make loyalty to either a kindred, a person, a deity, things like that. So some of those things, how that would actually look like, and what you make your oaths on, will be on a little oath ring, kind of like what I got right here. So generally speaking, they're made out of copper or silver or pewter, something like that. But more often than not, you'll see more of them being silver because it's more easily available. But with that being said, when it comes to actually making oaths to a kindred, a group, usually if you want to make a kindred to a said group, because a lot of kindreds will actually want you to oath with them if you want to actually be considered part of that kindred. Now, you be there for a year and you learn about what they are, what they're about, and what their morals are, and the virtues and things like that. You learn the ins and outs of them. Little bug. You learn the ins and outs of the actual said kindred. And then once you actually get done with that year, you would actually recite that oath by memory. And then once you make that oath by memory, then you're part of the kindred. And that'd be like a year. Now, how long does this oath last? Well, it depends on how long you set the boundaries for that oath. Personally, I would recommend anyone who would actually oath to my kindred, I would say do it for 6 months to a year for like your first go around. And, nothing super crazy long or super incredibly binding, like don't make the first oath be like 5 years. That could be a long 5 years or it could be a really quick 5 years depending on that kindred. So understand that when you do make that oath, you're stuck with that kindred unless it dissolves and, or something else of that nature happens. And we'll get with that later. So when would you actually make those said oaths? Like, what are the times of the year that you actually do that? So, granted, you can kind of make it any time depending on what the kindred decide to do. Now, if you really want to be more on the holiday side of things, some people would actually say the Feast of Folly is when you like renew oaths if you decide to renew your oaths. Like that's around like Valentine's Day ish. If you decide to do a Feast of Folly and do your oaths that way, or you do it around Yule time, which you do the over the Yule ham, and that's kind of where the whole New Year's resolutions kind of come from, or at least so they say, anyways. So that's just a couple times. Your kindreds could actually have an actual meetup as such to do such things. Now, when it comes to making an oath, when you make your oath, this isn't like a a kid's birthday party kind of deal. This is kind of one of those. Not everyone is going to see this oath be taking place. Like, if anything, it should be like the go through the file and like maybe the immediate members of the said community. So, this isn't like something that you go to Disneyland and do that kind of deal. It's a very private affair. It's a very personal journey kind of deal. It's not a spectacle that you try to make the world see. Unless you're trying to do it for education purposes, but that's, I don't know why you would do that for education purposes, to be honest. But still, with that being said, when you actually are sworn into that kindred, you do not do anything outside of that kindred. Now, unless your kindred lets you kind of do those kind of things, and, that's kindred discretion. But, not my pig, not my farm. So, with that being said, one of the things that you should look out for when it comes to actually making an oath, do not make a forever oath, especially your first one. Because, again, that oath is held forever. Make your oath give your oath a time limit, a date where it ends, and then you can renew it on that said date if you so choose, or not choose. Do not oath to a single person unless you're doing like a hand fasting, as in like you're doing to someone you love kind of deal. And that's a hand fasting, and that's in my other video if you want to watch that one. So keep those things in mind, that not everything is to a person. Oath to the community and the kindred, not a individual person. I would recommend not necessarily oathing to a specific deity in particular. And the reason why I say that is because if that deity or person asks you to do something that you cannot fulfill, well, then you just kind of set yourself up to be an oath breaker. So, now why is being an oath breaker really a bad thing? So, in heathen circles in particular, or Norse pagans for those who don't go by that, being an oathbreaker is actually one of the worst things you could be labeled as. There's a special place in the afterlife if you are considered an oathbreaker. Now, let me clarify that. If you broke an oath once for any substantial reason, right, whether it's intentional or ill-intentional, and you actually made effort to actually correct that wrong that you did, well, then that might affect where you actually go afterwards. Now, I'm talking more along the lines if you're constantly known as an oathbreaker, or the whole community knows you as an oathbreaker and nothing else. But again, that's a topic for another time. Now understand that if you're to make an oath, it is one of the things that, it is made between you, the gods, and the community. And they are there to witness it. So that's why it's kind of a private affair. Not necessarily, strangers at Disneyland kind of deal. But I'm kind of rambling now. However, let's say that for some reason you're unable to realistically uphold this oath. And let's say that it's from circumstances outside of your control. Can you be relieved of said oath? Well, yes, you can. That would be something you would work out with you and your kindred members, like your Gothi or whoever you're in your Thyle to, whoever actually helped made that oath. And again, that'd be something that's kind of a outside of circumstances kind of deal. But with that being said, though, too, and this is kind of a quick and down and dirty of what oath making really is. One of the things, too, that I kind of want to talk about as well, as far as the oath stuff, is if you do not have to make an oath, you shouldn't. You can pretty much go your whole heathen path, Norse pagan path, whatever you want to call it, without making an oath. So if you don't have to, then don't. It is one of the things that you should definitely not take lightly. It should be something that should not be done because of a trend, or you just see some other people doing it. So, I mean, if you're doing it as like a trend, or just do it, just say you did it, I would consider that a false oath. And you don't want to be making false oaths. Actually, the Havamal even mentions of making false oaths and why you shouldn't do it. So, with that being said, that's kind of the short, the down, and dirty. If you make an oath, keep true to your word. If you don't plan on making an oath, don't make an oath that you don't plan to make. Especially if you have no intentions on keeping it, or you feel that it's a false oath. Now, with everything too, here's another little side piece, a little extra credit for y'all. Whenever I do have someone swear an oath to my kindred, I, as a Gothi, swear an oath to them to give them the ability to uphold that oath. What I mean by that is, I would swear to them that I will make this community a place for you to uphold your oath. Meaning that I will not do anything in my power or the community's power to jeopardize them upholding that oath. I will give everything in my power to make sure they have the best possible chance to not only uphold it, but to also make sure the community allows them to uphold it too. So that's just my thing. You don't necessarily have to do that, but me as a Gothi, I feel it is a responsibility for you to provide a kindred space for you to have your members uphold their oath. Now, granted, if I make that oath to them, and then they broke it on their own accord, well, that's on them. Now, if it was something that I did, then that's on me. Then I'm the oath breaker. Understand that being a part of a kindred, it is, again, this is kind of a little side piece for you. Understand that kindreds are a family, and when you oath to that family, you are family. You're exactly that, whether it's blood related or not. And as a Gothi, or someone leading actual kindred, it is your responsibility to make sure your family has, and your kindred has, the best opportunity to fulfill the practices and fulfill the roles in that said community. But that's my little quick tangent. But other than that, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. And as always, stay heathen.